Hi there, welcome to the Jay Slater case. New shocking footage has emerged in recent time by one of the supposed persons of interest known as Rocky, who was alongside Ayab Qasim back when Jay Slater was out there on holiday, and how things escalated ever since. There's still been a lot of questions unanswered, and certain behaviours by Ayub to Rocky when they've been interviewed or they've done a live stream in the past, such as on TikTok. Some of the responses have been questionable. Other people have picked up on slippered tongues, and even how they made it seem like that they were the victims, that they were in danger, that Jay at one point was armed with a knife. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But today, the footage, which has come about recently, is by Rocky, who just so happened to go back on holiday or so, and in the same area and at the same Airbnb as to where it all started off, as in the journey of Jay Slater arriving, then leaving on foot, never to be seen alive again, and that Ayub and Rocky were some of the last few people to see Jay Slater alive, and the general public, or some of which believe that they may know more, but they're not letting on public or opening up to. There was some other previous footage, I believe on TikTok or some kind of interview or live from Instagram, where it appeared as if Rocky was about to throw up, that he couldn't stomach holding the truth within. But today, I just want to focus in on the latest footage, just to show you what it looks like visually. As for the original sound, I'm going to mute that because of copyright issues with music. Just going to break it down a little bit by bit, the body language, the atmosphere behind it, the intent behind it. Is it playing with fire? Is it playing mind games? Are they leaving little hints here and there? Is there any acknowledgement to Jay Slater, or are they in a world of their own? For and against arguments, and we'll look at the latest news article as well, which goes into a little bit more depth in regard to a very brief backstory for those that may not know. When it came to Jay Slater at the time, first time going abroad on holiday, and it was, I think it's Las Americas de Playas, 22-mile journey in which to get to the Airbnb. Jay Slater partying, but two friends, Lucy and Brad, ended up going back to their place, I think a hotel, and Jay still wanted to continue on partying, supposedly taking drugs as well, ketamine and I believe ecstasy. And whilst Jay's still partying, met up with Ayub Qasim and Rocky on the spot in the moment, decided to get into the car, was driving to that Airbnb. Yes, there's those selfies or photos within the vehicle, and the whole mention of the watch, so about selling it for £10, but others are saying it's 10,000. Was it stolen? Who was it taken from? Is Ayub and Rocky caught up within that aspect? The whole drug dealing, and because of Ayub's past as well, doing drug dealing in the UK, getting in trouble there. That Jay Slater is in the hands of dangerous people, surrounding himself with bad influences. Is Jay in a vulnerable situation at the time with being of an adult age, but a young adult, and Ayub and Rocky being a much older age? I think Ayub Qasim was about 31 at the time, so, looking out for one another. Was that factor in place? Not quite, because once at that Airbnb and staying there just for a brief amount of time, and Jay documenting a little bit from a snap, but it didn't show too much, or an Instagram photo, mentioning to Ayub to borrow a charger because of charging the phone not around long enough. I believe there was a mention of wanting a ride back home, and if I'm correct in saying Ayub, Rocky, or one of which, was willing to give Jay Slater a ride back home, but in the afternoon, but Jay wanted to go as soon as possible. A level of urgency. Did Jay want to leave and get out quick because he was in danger? He sensed something bad was going to happen. Did Jay do anything that could annoy Ayub or Rocky at the time? There's all questions back and forth there. But in regard to a 22-mile journey from where Jay was partying to the Airbnb, to make it back would take quite some time, depending on the transport. So when it comes to the friend Brad, he thought that Jay would sober up at the Airbnb and realise what's he doing there, and would try to get back. And from the looks of it, that's what Jay was going to do. Brad told Jay to get a taxi back to the place of living, to the hotel, to meet up. But Jay insisted on walking. But there's a little bit more depth to that. That by walking, it would be a 14-hour journey on foot through harsh terrain, and the temperature that is quite hot and dry. Dehydration would kick on in. the rural areas, the ravines, the vegetation, the rockiness. Not a good place, not exactly a safe place, especially if you're not an experienced hiker. That despite being offered a ride in the afternoon, that there was also a bus opportunity, a bus stop station nearby to the Airbnb. And Jay inquired about that to a female who's within the area. And when given the location, Jay, I believe, ended up going the opposite way, which is kind of interesting. As for the other friend, Lucy Law, did have a call with Jay when Jay had left. And it kind of implied that Jay was in kind of a rush to try and get away and that he didn't want to return back to the Airbnb to face those guys. Implies that Jay may have been a bit scared or worried, but he told her he missed the bus. By missing the bus, maybe, but by going in the opposite direction to where this stop is, obviously you are going to miss it. By walking where he was, ended up getting lost, as he mentioned to a friend, that he needed water, he was dehydrated, and his battery phone was 1%. So whatever he did with that charger at the Airbnb, either it didn't charge long enough, or the phone uses enough juice quick. So the call ended up stopping, whether that be because the phone died or due to the altitude, the elevation, signal dropping, one or the other. He told her he was in the mountains and obviously soon to be found down the ravine cliff area at the base, which was inaccessible for search teams at the time, but eventually search teams did find him. But like the family and other searchers going past the area multiple times, not knowing that Jay was down there out of sight. Eventually it came to the inquest, it came down to the summary that Jay Slater, of an accident, ended up just falling down and hitting the ground, fractured, broken ribs, skull, and so on, and some of his personal items being a bit higher up on the cliff area away from him, and that his phone didn't really yield much results, and some of the data or stuff couldn't be retraced or found or picked up because he had blocked contacts, I guess, on social media. But the general public aren't too pleased or happy with the concept of just accidentally falling. Now, the factors of which could have caused it could be dehydration, disorientated, lack of balance, and lack of hiking experience on bad rocky terrain, improper hiking gear, improper footwear, so you haven't got the grip, the ankle support, you could trip, you could fall. Mix that in with dehydration and disorientation. It's not a good combination, of course. Side effects, maybe wearing off or kicking in with taking ketamine, ecstasy, previous, could affect the mood, could affect the reaction timing, the perception about the depth of field, disorientation, mixed with dehydration, obviously not good. And it also came up possibilities of lack of sleep. Now, if Jay was struggling to sleep or he was too busy up with certain levels of energy or adrenaline, impact to sleep, makes you tired, makes your decision making, your choices that follow not as good, can be impaired, can be impacted negatively. Chain of events, a chain of side effects could all link to Jay possibly falling. But people believe out there that Jay Slater was pushed. Now, if you've got the likes of Ayub and Rocky that are less to see, some of the last few people to see Jay alive and walking away, is it possible that Ayub or Rocky may have pushed Jay? But why? A form of revenge? To teach him a lesson? To silence him? Is it that Jay saw something he wasn't supposed to, caught up in something, was trying to leave and flee the area? Ayub and Rocky had to silence Jay. It's a theory, it's an idea which would have come up here and there. There's been other mentions of Jay was trying to get down to a beach to flag signal for help so someone could pick him up. And we saw how that went, but from the looks of it, Jay didn't even get to that point. So, whilst you got the likes of Ayub and Rocky, and in one of the interviews previously, it was mentioned by Ayub on, well, yes, we took Jay to the Airbnb, and when Jay Slater wanted to leave and left, as soon as he was out of that door, you know, we're out of it. We're not linked. We're not added on to the case. It kind of like closes there. As soon as Jay walks away, we have no part within it. And some people interpreted that as a bit suspicious or quite cold. Now, you got a more developed individual of a older age and life experience. You're taking in, I believe, an 18-year-old or a young adult at the time known as Jay, who's away from his friends, who's new to the area, first time on holiday, take them in to your Airbnb, take care to some extent. Yes, adult, they can think for themselves, do their own thing, but are they somewhat of a vulnerable person under the factors? Technically, yes. Could Ayub or Rocky have done more? People could argue and say, of course. And the attitude by Ayub, as in, well, as soon as Jay decided to make the decision to walk away, that's it, we're not part of it anymore. Just sounds a bit abrupt, as if you're trying to cut it quick before anything else comes out or is added or suggested. So whilst Ayub have been questioned by people, Rocky on the sideline as well, who might be a bit quieter at times, and yet has been vocal publicly in recent time with taking a little clip of video of being out there on holiday in that Airbnb where Jay was temporarily and in the area where Jay was to later be found dead. Is there a backstory? Is there like a hidden message behind it? Do you find it creepy yourself? Without further ado, I appreciate your patience. Let's just get into the footage right now. Play it, then analyse. So, after watching that little clip, there wasn't too much to it though. The captions on top, the overlay saying views, fire, looks great. It is great. Let's not forget what's happened, within the area previously. A tragedy, a bad event, an accident, or maybe more than that, a form of foul play. And you've got a person of interest. You have an individual that was within the presence of Jay Slater, an individual partially responsible for taking Jay from the party place 22 miles to the Airbnb where it's remote and isolated, making it hard for Jay to get back to some extent considering the circumstances, right? You've got a person of interest that decides to go back to this one specific place, right? Okay, the country itself, you go there because you want to, you may like the area you're familiar with, you get on well. But second of all, the exact location there, within that country, really. But then more importantly, the exact same building you're staying at, renting out, regardless if it's a day or longer. Is it a smart decision by Rocky? Because, if it was such a situation where you just loved the area, going on holiday, that one particular spot, because it brings back good memories and not the one with Jay Slater, more in the past if Rocky has been here previous, like Ayub has. If you've got good memories here within the area, you might want to go back because that's just what you like and familiar with. You like the area, you're more likely to return back. But the same exact Airbnb, right? It's just dodgy in a way. If the person was innocent, right? Would you risk going back to the same spot? Wouldn't it gain traction, gain tension and fire, and it would make it worse for yourself, like you're playing with fire? You know the possible dangers, the risk, the backlash you could get, the criticism online. Is it worth going through all of that just so you can be at this one Airbnb? Yes, the views may look nice and great, but aren't there other Airbnbs or hotels or buildings you can rent out nearby or a bit further away, which have nice views as well? Of course, technically you should be able to live your life and do what you want, but, whether that be out of respect for Jay Slater, whether it be out of respect for yourself, protecting yourself in any way, for and against arguments, is it a smart idea choosing this place? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, how many people are going to know about it? Many. Why? Because the individual decided to record it and upload it online on social media. So at the very least, if Rocky wants to return here to not document or record it, to not upload it online, then it's like you're doing your own thing, in your own private life, enjoying, moving on. But by recording it and uploading it online, it's like you're stirring the pot, stirring tension again. The case has kind of gone quiet. It's faded away slightly. Not everybody's too pleased with the outcome. And Rocky's like, in the mindset of possibly, right, let's return back here, let's record it and then upload it online because it will gain a reaction, it will gain traction, and then people will get frustrated and react and leave comments and come to my page, come to my channel, and that will increase engagement. At the cost or risk of backlash and tension and resistance, if it gains traction, bad publicity can still be considered good publicity in the mind of them possibly, right? Is it a wise idea uploading to social media when you're a person of interest? A lot of people out there are very skeptical of you and question, and it's to do with Jay Slater and the location. It just seems like a recipe for a disaster. Definitely risky behavior in a sense. And some people could say it's almost, I guess, like leaving clues, being cryptic in a sense, messing about, because you think of views, you think of the mountains, the ravines. Well, that's what Jay Slater experienced, the views, the visual aspect, but it wasn't a beautiful outcome, as in beautiful views, because the view that Jay Slater had would have been either face down or face up when falling and hitting the ground. Now, maybe the view there is great, but considering Jay Slater within the area roughly was to be found dead in an inaccessible place, and Rocky probably would be well aware of that when following the news or hearing about it here and there, to know about that, to return back to the location and to just play it off, not even consider or acknowledge, no rest in peace Jay Slater, no mention to that, but just discreetly saying that's a nice view. You could argue either it's insensitive or it's playing mind games, there's something going on behind the scenes. I say it's just ideas and theories, but the timing of it and the location and posting it to social media, it could raise a few eyebrows. These are just different angles of the Airbnb, so you get a visual look at it, which is where Jay Slater was at. I'm not too sure if I'm correct, but was it that green door where Jay was stood near when he took a photo? So some photos from inside the bedroom, the living room area, and Jay on the left, and the bedroom there. And I said there was that mention where Jay went into one of the bedrooms and was asking, I believe, Ayub for a phone charger and went into the other room to get it. But did Jay pick up anything else whilst he was there and then panicked afterwards that he wasn't supposed to take certain stuff? Bar, restaurant, Mesca. And we've got another angle there. Better angle over that way of the view, the height, the elevation, the rockiness, the terrain, dangerous. You need experienced hikers for that, and for Jay Slater to be walking through terrain and environment similar to that in a certain direction and going off the beaten path, going off a normal pathway, going off a road, trying to find a shortcut possibly, but also being lost, dehydrated. It's not good for Jay. You know, the survivability drops, the risk to reward ratio increases, becomes imbalanced, and then the outcome, not great. But for Jay Slater to go off track, to be in a dangerous, rocky environment where he could fall, where he could slip, roughly. If someone like Ayub, Qasim or Rocky were to follow Jay, they themselves would have to get into tricky, difficult terrain. And are they themselves capable or healthy enough in hiking through that just to reach Jay Slater? Whilst Jay's phone died, you know, if Jay's phone never died, would he have made another call, a follow-up? Could it have revealed more? We never know. But if anyone was to push Jay Slater off a mountain, off a cliff or ridge, right, the one responsible would have to cover that distance themselves on foot. They would have to be in a dangerous area too. And are they familiar with the area? Are they good at hiking? Are they capable themselves? If Jay Slater had any cuts or bruises from going through, wading through thick, deep vegetation or any sharpness along the way, did any other people of interest have any cuts or bruises on them when following Jay to the almost like end spot or ground zero? It does make you wonder. So, will we see any more footage in regard to the case? Any more taunting action or behaviour if you was to interpret it like that? You can let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think there's much to this bit of footage by Rocky, or is it misunderstood? All in all, if you found the videos somewhat helpful, be sure to hit the like button, share the video to spread that awareness, to keep the case somewhat alive, and just to share your discussions and comments, thoughts down below. If you are interested in additional coverage or different types of videos on other cases and mysteries, you'll find a full playlist to them, top right corner where the eye symbol is up there. And there is a new feature recently, and it's only on mobile devices, but channels from 500 to just under 500,000 subscribers, there is a hype button. So if you're on mobile, if you want only, feel free to hit the hype button, which is somewhere down below, either the comment section or just under the video playback section near to the thumbs up and stuff. And all it does, it just helps with the awareness, it just helps with the video discoverability, and considering people want to learn about cases and to keep things alive and going, that feature can help in assisting. So I appreciate you watching. Take care for now. Goodbye.